Great, thank you. Should be fine.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here on today's webinar showcase featuring 10 Capital and pitches from everybody here. Now that we've gone through that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Hall, and he's going to go ahead and take a second to just give you a quick overview of 10 Capital and what we do here. Hall, let me go ahead and present my screen, and then anytime you want to go into the next slide, just let me know.
Great, thanks, Dave. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We have another great set of companies pitching. For those who don't know 10 Capital, we'll talk a little bit about what we do so everybody's familiar with it. At heart, we help startups and investors connect for funding. That's what we do. We also help angel groups find members, and we help VC funds find limited partners. And 10 Capital, there's about 7 of us in the company. We've just brought on 4 more people to handle the growth, and we're continuing to expand nationally in what we're doing here as well. You can see a little bit about the team right there. We've been started in 2009 and have been growing ever since. Next slide. And as I said, we also form capital for startup investments. We help angel groups find members. We help VC funds find limited partners, mostly family offices and high net worths. And we also help high net worths start family offices as well. So we're always helping put people together to expand the startup ecosystem. We're also standing up a Keiretsu chapter here in Texas as well. So we're bringing more funding to the state as best we can. Next slide. So if you are looking to raise funding, go ahead and scan that code on the screen, and we'll be glad to follow up with you to tell you more about what we do and see if your deal is a fit to join us on the panel up here today. And it takes a little bit of a process to join our program, but it's well worth it, and looking forward to your submission. Next slide. We also have an Investor Connect podcast program. If you want to listen to 650 different investors talk about how they invest in startups, these are angel VCs, family offices, and more. It's a great way to learn about how the investor thinks and what they're looking for in a startup. We also have the Startup Funding Espresso, which is in the time it takes to drink an espresso, you can learn something about startup investing and funding, and we'll talk more about that here in a moment. Next slide. We have taken all of our espressos. We have about 2,000 of them so far and have put them on a chat bot. So all you have to do now is type in your question into the chat bot. It's on the page startupfundingespresso.com in the lower right-hand corner. You can just type in your question and it'll give you the answer by scanning all the espressos that we have written and recorded over the past 5 years. So it's a great way to get information about how you do that. So next slide. We are going to be in Austin for our next roadshow event, July 17th. And so this is an all-day event at the Oracle facility. Welcome anybody to come out and join. You can find the link on our events page, and there you can actually talk about how we're working with different startups, and we'll have a great time there as well. So looking forward to seeing you guys there. And we also have another online event every month called the Life Science Syndicate. It's the second Wednesday of each month, and we bring our life science deals here to show on this same format online. Next slide. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. If you can follow us on LinkedIn, it's fine. You can be on our mailing list. We'll be glad to give you updates about the companies that are coming in and events that we have coming up. We do online, in-person, and in-dinner events as well for closing. And so it's a great way to get out and meet investors through all these different channels. So that's it for the slides. I want to thank Dave for that. And with that, let's have our investor, Bill Hooper. Bill, if you can come on, turn on your screen and tell us more about yourself and your fund there.
Sure. Thanks very much, Hall. I'm a partner in some fund, a venture capital fund called One Flourish. We focus on deep tech. We focus on companies that have a sustainable competitive advantage in their technology. We are a seed and early stage fund. We also work with investors and as well as with founders to help their companies create an excellent company culture, because the research shows that the companies that have the best culture tend to perform better. There's a lot of research from Harvard Business School and others. So we're an early stage seed venture fund, classic venture fund located in Silicon Valley with 4 partners, and we're focused on deep tech, and we also focus on helping companies build an excellent company culture. That's a quick summary, very brief. Our first fund is tracking toward a 4 to 5x multiple that was started several years ago, and we just closed a preliminary round in our second fund, and we have some great companies in that fund. So that's a quick overview.
Great, thanks. We also have several investors in the audience, Kate Davis, Jordan Waba, and several others. If you guys want to put something about your fund and your network in there in the chat box, please go ahead and do so, and we'll look forward to your questions as we go forward. With that, let's bring up our first presenter. We have with us Alithia Power. If you guys could launch your slides and kick off. For those in the audience, each of them will have 15 minutes to pitch and answer questions. So we're looking for the 9-10-minute version of the pitch, so we have some time for questions both from the panelists as well as from the audience there. But Jeremy, whenever you guys are ready, go ahead and kick off.
Okay, thanks, Hall. I'm Jeremy Jones. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the co-founder and chief commercial officer of Alithia Power. Alithia is a seed stage company based in North Carolina that's developing the next generation of power electronic chips. So the US and the world have got a huge problem with electricity these days, how to generate it, how to transmit it, and how to use it efficiently. And the key problem with all of that is the chips that control these high voltages and high amperages. They're throwing about 10% of what's generated or what they're trying to use away. And in 2022, the US generated about $400 billion worth of electricity and threw about $40 billion away in the form of heat, form of stuff that just wasn't useful. So they had to generate more to make up for that, throw more carbon dioxide up the pipe, and generate a lot more heat. Now, there's 2 types of power electronic devices out there today. The historic one has been silicon-based, and the up-and-coming one, the new kid on the block, is silicon carbide-based. And so those both have significant issues that's going to limit electrification going forward. Silicon-based devices are slow, inefficient, bulky. They don't switch that fast, and that's a big problem for things like chargers going forward. They're big, they don't fit well, and they generate a tremendous amount of heat. Silicon carbide devices are much better than silicon in a lot of applications. The problem is that they lose performance at high voltages and powers. And so Alithia Power has a solution to that. And the solution is called Vertigan. And I won't go into the physics of it or the chip design or anything else, but it combines breakthrough manufacturing processes, materials, and chip designs to come up with something that's a gallium nitride-based power electronic that can eliminate a lot of the issues or set aside a lot of the issues with silicon and silicon carbide. And here we're talking about not like 5 or 10% improvements. We're talking about orders of magnitude, 500%. Efficiency, size reduction, switching speeds all increase dramatically. At the same time, we have a cost reduction. These are lower cost than silicon and silicon carbide because we can fit, these chips are much smaller. We can fit a lot more on a wafer. And so the cost, the manufacturing costs come down dramatically. So it's not often they get all these benefits, plus it's cheaper. And the way we're doing this is we're learning a lot from how others have tried and failed. And with a semiconductor company like we're trying to be, you can spend a huge amount of money putting steel in the ground and building factories. You don't want to do that. You don't want that high fixed cost, and you don't want to have, the high operational costs, particularly in a startup, sucking all that money away and putting it into a black hole. Because it's not value add. A lot of those operations are not value add. And so what we've done is developed a fabless or in a flat light manufacturing scheme. And what we've done is we've collected some key partners that have this, the manufacturing technologies and the materials technologies that form the guts of these chips. And they're unique, they're protectable, and they're basically not copyable by others right now. And so we brought those we formed relationships with those key partners, and we've chosen to take the low value add out chip things like how do you slice the wafers up, how do you package and all of that, and outsource those to others. And so for now, when we're making prototype quantities, that's a very, very good design, and it's scalable. So at scale, we'll bring those processes in-house in a small facility to keep those key technologies ours. And we'll outsource those other things to large fabs like Global Foundries, XFab, things of that nature. And we'll begin making chip on wafer up top and then finishing with packaged devices. And we've had conversations with all of these partners. They're open to it. And we believe we've got a path to protect this as well. Now, the markets that we're going after are in the high voltage, high power segment. You can see that on the upper right. And so we believe there's about a $6 billion vertical for us in that space. And it's things like electric trucks, electric trains, the nascent electric aviation, fast chargers, power transmission, solar, things of that nature, where the movement is to get the higher voltages more efficient, motors work better, you need less copper in that truck to move amperages around so you can carry more stuff. So that's the place we're going to play, and that's where our material and our designs work much better than silicon carbide and silicon, which are down in that sort of lower right, lower left there. Now, our first segment we're going after is e-trucks, because the government mandates to switch to e-trucks about half by 2035, and all trucks, semi-trucks going out in 2040 will be e-trucks. Now, how long that will take and whether there'll be delays, I'm sure there will be, but there is that mandate to push e-trucks out there. The problem is range and recharge time. It results in a $20 billion industry loss. You can imagine a truck that goes 200 miles needing a charge, and it requires it takes 2 hours to recharge that truck. The poor driver is sitting in sheets for 2 hours eating lunch or doing their work. They're not making money. The company that owns that truck is not making money. With our devices, our Vertigan, you can get range up to at least 30%, and recharge time faster by about 50%. And the second market we're going after and have had conversations around and a lot of entry into is solid state circuit breakers. There's a huge demand for these high voltage level 3 chargers, things that'll charge your car in 2 hours, in 20 minutes, things that'll charge that truck in an hour. You need high voltages in there. You need to manage that power. You need to be efficient. You don't want to throw a lot of that power away. And that requires a solid state circuit breaker to do it fast, efficiently, and safely in the uppermost. And Vertigan provides a step change reduction in electrical losses. We're saving these people power. We're saving them money. and we believe we're enabling to that next generation of chargers. And you can see some comments down the bottom there from some of our major target customers. So they're not seeing this as a 10% or a 20% or a nice to have. This is like game changing for them. And so there's a lot of pull for what we're making and getting them into their hands. We put together a super team. Chris Ugolini, who's also on the call, has been, in gallium nitride devices and materials for a long time. I worked with him before at a company called Nitride Solutions. I've been in the materials space building companies for about 30 years. In the center, I want to focus on Steve Oliver. He comes from the gallium nitride power device market. He's a vice president at a company called Navitas. He is a lead investor in our company. He has led the seed round, the pre-seed round, and he's now leading this round because he believes in the power of vertical GaN and how it's able to really blow all these other technologies away. Plus, we have 3 key individuals that know devices, device design, process integration for companies like Coherent, Google, and Wolfspeed. We have a way to protect these. The way we're going to protect our technologies is trade secrets, patents that we generate internally, and patents that we license externally. We've completed a Freedom to Operate and patentability report about a year ago. We're re-upping that right now. It was very positive results. We've got a large space in which to operate, as well as to form patents in a patent mode. We're also negotiating exclusive license. We have negotiated, exclusive license for 4 foundational patents. That'll give us a bigger foundation to build future patents on. And we plan to file 5 patents post-closing, 3 around device design that tremendously improve chip efficiency, cost, and quality, and also in device integration that will increase product adoption. So here's our revenue plan. We believe we'll be post-revenue in year 2. And the revenue is coming from 2 areas. One is from chip sales in the blue, and the other is from NRE and JDAs. That's where we're going to partner with companies like Borg Warner, Atom Power, who are going to pay us to form a joint development to make something that's specific for them. It's a great way to advance the technology, bring things to market, develop things for them, and have a ready market at the end of that. So we believe there'll be significant JDA money available to us and then chip sales going forward. The segment revenue you can see for superchargers, traction drives, solid-state circuit breakers, DC-DC fast chargers, and other. So we think that this, given the market studies we've done and the pull that we've gotten from customers, we believe that this is achievable. And we believe we'll achieve gross margins by 70% by year 7 because of the great wafer yield, the lots of die per wafer, and the low manufacturing costs that we have. So step 1 is to make a device. All these processes, all these technologies have been proven out. There's data behind them. Now we need to put them together into a device and get them into customers' hands. This is about a $750,000 1-year program. And you can see the use of funds there. A lot of it's going to third parties because we're not doing it internally. So it is that's the way we're going to go. And we believe that's the most cost-efficient, capital-efficient way to go, to get this critical proof of concept done and into big customers' hands. So we're raising a $750,000 seed round to complete and sample the proof of concept devices. It's a convertible note. Has a 6% interest, 30% discount, and a $5 million valuation cap. We have previously closed $350,000 in the form of convertible note. I said it before, that was led by Steve Oliver, and Steve has reinvested in this round. We believe we'll have a follow-on round in 2025, about $1 to $2 million to complete and sample the minimal viable product and send them in quantities to customers. And we believe there's strong potential for non-dilutive funding from the DOE and DOD in 2025. So why us? Why now? We have something called a second mover advantage. We used to say it was a first mover advantage, but that's not a good thing, not in this industry. So early entrants really failed because they put in steel on the ground. They had high capital, high operational costs. They built factories. and they chose the wrong manufacturing technologies and the wrong materials. We have technical partnerships with key suppliers that can move quickly. We're not going to repeat their errors. We have high performance designs that are patentable, manufacturable, and the key processes and materials have been de-risked and demonstrated. So that's Alithia Power. Thank you for listening, and I'd love to take your questions.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. If those in the audience have a question, please put it in the chat box. And Bill, what's your first question?
Thanks for that presentation, Jeremy. Really appreciate it. How have you made some impressive claims on page 3? How have you validated those, and how certain are those, and are they validated by some third parties?
They are built from calculations that we've done in conjunction with other manufacturers and other technology providers. And there are certain key aspects of gallium nitride that you need to, certain key data that you need for gallium nitride that we've been able to generate based on our interactions with our partners that have led to those numbers. Now, those numbers have been validated with others that are using silicon carbide. So they believe that those are believable and testable. But those numbers will be shown in, as we go forward.
Got it. And does that mean, for example, you've actually made chips with gallium nitride and you've manufactured, however you've done it, enough of them to run tests on them to validate those numbers?
No, there's two ways of validation. One is there are others that have done vertical GaN in the past.
Right.
And their results, even though they failed economically because of their choices, yes, they proved the key aspects of vertical GaN in those numbers. They made some very, very nice devices. The problem was with their processes, they couldn't make a lot of them. So we have that validation point. The other validation point we have is the materials that go into those chips have all been shown, and their attributes have all been proven, the key attributes that we partnered with. So we believe there's a high confidence level that we can achieve those numbers.
Thanks.
Hey, can you talk more about the design-ins that you have so far on the roadmap?
The folks that we don't have design-ins right now, because really what the ultimate chip that we're going to make is a transistor. So that can switch, and what we're going to be demonstrating in the seed round is a diode. The diode is going to show pretty much all of the attributes, the positive attributes of vertical gallium nitride, so that we can then move on and make that transistor. While we're going to be doing that, we're going to be sampling those diodes to customers that I mentioned that want to see those kind of products, and so want to see that kind of product, want to test that aspect of it. And so we don't have design-ins, but we have commitments from customers to test those and then to move into further discussions around the actual transistors.
Okay, great. We're at the end of our time. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. And we took some poll results, so we'll share with you those afterwards. Next up, we have Soteria. Brian, if you could launch your slides and kick off, you'll be next, and we'll kick on to the next one.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Let me pull up my slides quick. Okay, everybody see this?
Yes, we can.
Good. So my name is Brian Morin. I am the CEO and co-founder of Soteria Battery Innovation Group, where we're dedicated to inherently safe batteries everywhere. I always tell people there's two things to know about Soteria. The first is that we have a technology that dramatically improves the safety, and you'll see it in action in a few minutes, but essentially reduces the safety events due to damage or abuse by between 90 and 99%. The technology also lowers the weight and lowers the cost. So there's no real barriers to using the technology, and you'll see it's being adopted broadly. That's the punchline at the end of the presentation. And then we decided that because it's safety related, it needed to be available to everybody. So we're taking it to market with a broad-based licensing business model supported by an industry-wide consortium that we founded and that we run. You can see some members here, but add General Motors, Jaguar Land Rover, and several others. So when you say battery fire, we sanitize it with words like thermal runaway and what have you. But I want to zoom in what it looks like in the field. So this is a cafe in New York City in October of 2022. You can see the e-bike gave off a bunch of smoke, and then right on cue, the flames shoot 6-8 feet out of the bike. And this fire going on in your house or your garage would ignite the house, right? There's just no getting around it. This happened 260 times in New York City last year, where they had to bring trucks to put out the fires. The market size is huge. It's over $100 billion now, growing to $400 billion by the end of the decade. There's also, in addition to kind of the personal side, there's this drumbeat of negative multi-billion-dollar public events that have happened. There was the grounding of the Boeing 787, the recall of the Samsung Galaxy Note 7, and then in recent years, there have been recalls by Ford, BMW, Tesla, Hyundai, Chevrolet, and now add Mercedes and Jaguar Land Rover, all due to spontaneous electric vehicle fires, and that's exactly the problem that we solve. So our vision is inherently safe batteries everywhere. And let me give you a view of what that looks like in practice. This is cell phone size cells. On the left, you have standard cells, and on the right, you have the same cells, but with our technology implemented. And if you watch the left, what you saw was a shower of sparks and then all the flammable materials burning. That shower of sparks is the release of electrical energy. Our technology prevents the release of the electrical energy. It acts like a circuit breaker on the inside of the battery. The same flammable materials are in our batteries. They just are never ignited, so they never catch fire. This is the same thing now with cylindrical cells. So at the top, we have a nail penetration. Bottom is a 90-degree crush. Again, on the left, you have that shower of sparks that ignites the flammable materials. Same flammable materials in our batteries, but no shower of sparks, so no ignition, no flames. So kind of an overview, our technology is much safer. It reduces the weight by between 15 and 20%. And because we take out a lot of the copper, it makes the cells less expensive. Also environmentally friendly, because we can make 5 times as many batteries with the same amount of copper. And then it works with every battery. So we chose to make it accessible for everybody through our broad-based licensing business model. And then we are teaching the market and seeding the market to promote adoption. But royalties is how we'll make our money in the end. This picture gives me comfort, because this is what I imagine the cells look like after you've driven your EV into a tree at 90 miles an hour. They're bent, they're crushed, they're penetrated. These cells, not only did they not catch fire, these are actually all still functioning cells in the way you see them. 4 hours after we damaged them, we discharged them and got more than 85% of the energy out with each one. So now how does it work? And I'll start with normal batteries. Every lithium-ion battery has 5 basic layers. Aluminum and copper foils bring the electricity in and out of the battery. Coated on them are the electrode materials, the anode and the cathode. That's where the lithium is stored. That's where the energy is held. And then in between the electrodes is a plastic membrane called a separator that lets the lithium go back and forth, but keeps the electrodes electrically isolated. Every lithium-ion battery fire starts when something compromises that membrane, that separator, and it can be many things, but damage to the cell or a manufacturing defect. When that happens, energy flows into that spot, generates heat, which will cause that membrane now, because it's made of plastic, to melt and shrink, opening up a bigger hole and releasing the rest of the energy, which is what causes that shower of sparks that ignites the battery on fire. So we do 2 things differently. The first is we replace that plastic membrane with a nanofiber-based non-woven, made from textile-grade fibers on a paper-making machine, but reinforced with fibrillated Kevlar, which is stable to 500 degrees Celsius. So that separator is never going to melt or shrink. And then the other thing we do is we replace the aluminum and copper foils with a metallized film. So think a potato chip bag or a party balloon. It's a thin sheet of plastic with enough metal on it to run the battery, but not enough to drive the intense currents that'll light the battery on fire. So now when you get that short circuit, the separator stays put, it doesn't melt or shrink, so the energy dumps in very briefly, but then when it dumps in, the current collector, the plastic in the current collector melts, the aluminum oxidizes, and it pulls the current collector away from the short circuit, opening the short circuit, stopping the flow of energy. All of that happens in just a few microseconds. We've measured it. And so what you're left with is a working cell with a dead spot in the middle. And that's what you saw. The nail went in, the current collector pulled away, the rest of the cell kept working. So we have over 80 issued patents. I need to update this because I think it's over 100 issued patents now in 3 basic pillars. So first, patents covering our separator and the batteries made with them. Patents covering the current collector and the batteries made with them. And then a growing list of patents covering other inventions that are safety related. There's 4 businesses that we study to understand our business model. The first is Qualcomm, ARM Holdings, and RCA, and Bluetooth. Each of them has a broad patent portfolio, licensed all at once, and targeted ubiquitous adoption. And they end up, Qualcomm and ARM Holdings ended up with billions of dollars of royalties. RCA, it's less than that, but it was 100 years ago. So this is our consortium spread throughout the supply chain. You can see the large equipment and material manufacturers on the left. In the middle are about 30 cell builders that are building our technology into their batteries. And then you have the end users on the right. The consortium forms the backdrop for our whole business model. The centerpiece of our business model is delivering safety technology through licensing. We're doing this today, and that's what's going to be the bulk of our revenue and certainly the bulk of our profit in the future. But to get that started, we had to do several other things. The first was to work with the material manufacturers to get high quality, abundant, low cost materials available. That's true now. Then we had to take those materials to the cell manufacturers, and we've actually commissioned several cells that we'll be consuming ourselves in our subsidiary Voltiplex. So Voltiplex is a battery pack company that we bought, which buys batteries, buys cells, builds them into battery packs for medical, robotics, material handling, micromobility, and several other applications. And then we are using certifications and standards to drive the need for safety. Our first one is coming out this summer, focusing on e-bikes. So we're going to have the most advanced e-bike battery safety certification available this summer. And then you see some new product categories. And we do have revenue in several of these categories already. So our revenue for the consortium last year was $650,000. Licensing was $240,000, $375,000 for cells, and $540,000 for our packs. All of those are growing. We're seeing significant growth this year in the cells and the packs. We're targeting $3 million in revenue this year from 1.8 last year. And you can see we've been averaging 45% growth. Last year was 62%. This year looks like it's going to be at least 50%. And we have some very nice TAMs that we're going after. The most important one is that $4 billion of potential royalties that we can get if we become ubiquitous by the end of the decade. For automotive, we have very strategically chosen to go with luxury automotive. We have projects with all of these companies and targeting use and application by the end of this decade. And I'll say some more about that. Our execution started with the consortium, and then we commercialized it and expanded it. Same thing with materials. We had to start with discovery and then scale up and commercialize, and now we're expanding the use of the materials. Once we had materials, we could start building cells, and we're now commercializing the cells that are the early cells, the first cells available. With those cells, we're now scaling up packs, and we'll commercialize them next year, and then come the large packs after them. So if you look now, we've got we're commercial with the consortium and materials. We're starting to commercialize the cells, and then the packs are coming later. Competition in our industry is not really competition because safety solutions stack. So while these are 3 other ways of getting to lithium-ion battery safety, we have examples of companies in all 3 of these areas that are putting our technology into their batteries and their packs as an additional layer of safety. And we're complementary, or we're compatible with all of them. We've won now 8 awards, so I need to update the slide. We just won SAE's Innovation Award this year. We have a very experienced and diverse management team. I'll highlight a couple people on our board. John Warner has been a senior executive in the battery industry now for almost 20 years. And Max Toy was the guy who didn't step back fast enough when IBM needed somebody to launch that ugly black box we called the PC. Our target exit is to do either a strategic acquisition or an IPO in 2026. You can see the comparable public companies here with an average valuation of just about $1 billion and average revenue of 5 million. So they're just a little bit ahead of us in revenue, and they have $1 billion valuation. And so I'm going to stop now. We have a very special deal for investment going on, but I'm not going to say the terms here. You need to take a call with me to find out the terms. But for a very short time this summer, we're doing a bridge round with some very favorable terms. So please, check the box and reach out, and I'll be happy to give them to you on a private call. But you can see we're working on an important problem in a large market. We've got a strong team. We've got a track record of execution, and it'll deliver fantastic financial rewards. So with that, I'll stop and take questions.
Great. Thanks, Brian. First question comes from Jordan in the audience. When you say lower weight, rate, and cost, how much is planned and what's the upper and lower range?
Yeah, so the weight loss is on the order of 10 to 20%. And where it is in between there depends on the exact battery design. But it's between 10 and 20% weight loss. So about 100 kilograms on an electric vehicle. So it's meaningful. Cost reduction is less. It's between 3 and 5%. But the important thing is you're putting a safety technology in, and the cost goes down, not up, right? So some of them will adopt it for just a 3 to 5% cost savings. But the nice thing is about a safety technology is once they start using it, they can never stop using it. They can never back out and take away a safety precaution that they've designed in.
Great. Bill, what's your question?
Ryan, thank you very much for the presentation. One question is, the battery industry is pretty mature and there are lots of big incumbents. What does your process require of them? And are the costs of new manufacturing processes prohibitive for using your technology and your license? Or in the best of all worlds, is it a simple add-on to their manufacturing process that's easy to do with equipment that already exists, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, and here's where I get to give you the punchline. So the answer is that it's a drop into existing manufacturing. You replace the metal foils with our metallized film, you replace the existing separator with our separator, and everything else. There's some tweaks to the process, but everything else is the same. And now the punchline is the largest battery company in the world has adopted this technology in China. They read our patents in 2017, started a project a couple years later, and now it's available in 3 production Chinese electric vehicles. The challenge is we have 6 patent applications in China, but none of them have been granted yet. And frankly, I'm not a big fan of fighting our first court battles in China, right? So there's also a company that is building a massive facility to manufacture our metallized film current collectors. That's good and bad. The bad part is that it's going to be used in China, and we may never get any royalties in China. I'm just going to acknowledge that out front. The good thing is that there is now going to be an abundant, inexpensive source of the materials to be adopted in, the US, Europe, China, or Korea, and Japan, and India, where we do have good patent coverage, and there's the rule of law, right? And I'll just acknowledge that. So I think we've got the possibility of getting abundant royalties in the next few years because it's already been proven. I saw a teardown this week of the batteries that are in those electric vehicles, and it's our technology inside of them. It's a little painful. I've only known this for about 4 or 5 weeks. It's a little painful to acknowledge, but it's the way of the world, I think.
Yeah, you're wise to be wary of China, but it's actually very good that you have a drop-in technology. That makes it a lot easier for them to adopt it, obviously.
Yeah, and now we have an abundant source of the materials, right? They're selling those materials for less than what the foils cost.
Great. We're at the end of our time. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Brian, for a great presentation, and Bill and Jordan for great questions. Our next presenter is going to be LiteSpeed. Joe, whenever you're ready, go ahead and launch your slides and kick off.
Yeah, so thank you, Hall. Let me pull up my slides here.
Okay.
Okay.
We see them now.
You see the slideshow?
Yes.
There. Now
You're
should
good
be
to
good.
go.
Yeah, all right, good. Yeah. So welcome to LiteSpeed Energy, where solar is installed at the speed of light. Our product is turnkey PV systems for commercial and industrial roofs. So our customers are the solar installers, are the EPC companies, the solar project developers, and the solar wholesale companies. And they all have issues to deal with. And so those problems are, among others, the installation itself, quite complex. You have oftentimes a mess on the roof with tools, with nuts, bolts, loose parts. You have very poor ergonomics. You need to lift pavers very unergonomically. You have sharp edges, metal edges for wind deflection that can rip cables apart. You have awkward alignment techniques to align the panels with the racking, and a lot of just poor ergonomics to deal with. There's also a lot of commercial roofs that are just too weak for solar, so they can't handle the weight that is required to put a solar system onto the roof. Because most of the standard systems on commercial roofs, well, they are ballasted, so these concrete pavers, they add to the load on the roof, and they're expensive, as well as more often also heavy and cumbersome to deal with. Also, another alternative that people use is that they lock the PV systems to the roof with the penetrative drilling, and that increases the risk of water leaks. Sometimes those water leaks only occur after a while, so very annoying for installers. And last but not least, very importantly, of course, the install time is a big cost factor. Obviously, the longer the install takes, the higher the labor costs are. So that's a big driving factor for the cost of commercial rooftops. So here's a installation comparison. At the bottom, you see our system, and at the top, you see a standard competitor system, actually leading competitor system. So let's see if this video runs here.
The lightning-fast install process requires no tools and no grounding, leading to lower labor costs.
So you see, essentially, we are done while the competitor just started their second row, because we have everything in one piece. Right? So you can imagine the kind of savings that you have with this kind of system. So we are 5 times faster to install. We use the same roofing adhesive. It's actually an adhesive attachment for our systems. We use the same roofing adhesives that roofers also use. So it's been on roofs for 50 years, very robust. Off the bat, we withstand winds up to 120 miles an hour. And while conventional systems add about 4 to 7 pounds per square foot of weight onto the roof, our system is less than 2 pounds per square foot. So it will go on roofs that otherwise cannot take solar. So essentially, we solve these very pressing problems that our customers have with this one-piece solution that has essentially the racking and the module integrated into one piece. And it's easy and 5 times faster to install. It does not require any tools, no grounding. So a small team can be very efficient, and that team does not need high skill. This can be a very low skilled team, because you can teach this process in a minute. Anyone can do this. So it's also 60% lighter so it's perfect for the weaker roofs. It's the lowest cost because you don't have the ballast, you don't have the slip sheet, no grounding. But grounding also has hardware, and the installation cost 5 times less labor. So our customers can really outbid their competitors and win business. It's a single piece part on the roof, and that's very important because this is the simplest logistics that you can imagine, right? So there's never waiting for parts. We have a lot of people that complain to us now. They have to pay the crew on the roof, but they're waiting for pavers, for racking, for modules, for slip sheets, what have you. And we don't have that here, because our system is just everything is together. Right? So it's also the cheapest to deinstall and then to reinstall. So you can get solar now. So basically, a lot of people want solar for their roofs, but they say, well, I have 5 or 10 years on my roof membrane. I'm going to get solar then, so in 5, 10 years. So that's a lost sale for the salesperson at that time. Right? So now we can get solar because it's so cheap to deinstall and reinstall when you re-roof. So all of those are unfair advantages. Here's a timeline of where we have been. We developed the first generation of this product while we worked at Beamreach Solar. This product received Best New Product Award at the Intersolar. We bought all of the IP related to that. Our CTO is the first author of all the IP. We have then built a partnership with a module maker for this integration, and we started our Generation 2 design work, and the Department of Energy started funding us with the first level of funding. A year later, they did a bigger level of funding, second round of funding. Those are highly competitive, peer-reviewed funding awards. We got the certification for our Gen 1, as well as end of last year, the DOE awarded us also with a contract for floating solar, which actually shares a lot of the advantage. Our approach shares a lot of the advantages between the commercial rooftops and the brand new market of floating solar. So what's the opportunity here? The C&I solar market in the US is growing to about $4 billion. We target to have about 20% of that market within 5 years and 50% of the project value. So that brings us to a revenue projection of $400 million within the US in C&I alone. There's additional markets. The C&I market in Europe is about the same size. There's also the residential market is about also the same size, and we have some nice IP on file for the residential PV market as well, where a lot of these advantages also play. And then there's a floating PV market is brand new, growing at more than 30% average over the next 8 years, and going to be a $56 billion market in 2032, as according to projections currently. This product has had been in revenue already before we acquired the IP for it. So about 400K of revenue had been made. And the system have been deployed over several years across the US, from east to the west, to Massachusetts, Utah, California, and other states. Also, it built since after winning this Best New Product award, a large pipeline was built prior to our acquisition. Generated or that includes these companies here. So we expect that as we roll out this product's Gen 2, that we can tap into this pipeline and generate revenue very quickly. Who are we? We're an expert team. We have between us about 80 patents in PV. 50 of those are in PV balance of system, which is the product that we're promoting here. We have C-suite experience with supply chain and product development experience, and we have established the supply chain partners for this with the master supply agreements for the 2 large companies that we need, the PV module supplier and the molder. So the nice thing is, even though we are a small company, we can grow very fast because our supply chain partners, they already today have the capacity that we need 5 years from now, so we can grow very quickly. What are we looking for right now? We're looking for relationships with financial investors as well as strategic partners in the PV industry. To date, we've received over $3.2 million in Department of Energy funding. We're looking to raise a total of $7 million in 3 rounds, where the first round is for $1 million at a $11 million post-money valuation. We're going to use the proceeds from these investments to build our corporate infrastructure, hire marketing executive, introduce our Gen 1 to the C&I market, and roll it out at the Intersolar shows, have a sales team, but also a sales backbone or technical sales team to support the product. And then we will also complete the development of the new products, our Gen 2 for the commercial rooftop, the floating product, PV product, as well as a residential product. And we're going to build bankability. So that is all I'm covering today. So thank you for your interest, and I'm happy to take questions.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Bill, what's your first question?
Joe, I want to make sure I understand the basic business. you described a lot of benefits to the installation, but this is basically a whole turnkey solar panel product, right?
With the racking and everything included. Yes. Mhm.
How are you competing on cost? We read about how low cost all the Chinese panels are. How are you? I see you're competing on costs of installation costs, but what about the total installed cost relative to the Chinese alternatives?
Yeah, on the install product, we can save approximately 15 cents per watt, which is huge for for projects, which is is a make or break on project. There's labor savings. Of course, there's also the racking itself, and of course, what we have is for the module, we have agreements that actually are tied to the market spot price of modules. So while we so our prices will fluctuate with the market, because the price that we pay for the modules, for the laminate, also is tied to the market.
Have you done any apples to apples comparison? I understand data moves around and pricing moves around, but
Yeah.
bottom line installed cost, what is your percentage? What is your cost as a percentage of the cost of the alternatives? And in other words, what percent lower are you offering to customers than their alternatives that are in the market today? And
Yeah,
have you done that homework?
Yes, and that's the 15 cent of savings that you can have with the on the project with if you use our system versus if you use a competitor system, and that's basically the comparison that we have from real data, and real data also confirmed by NREL studies. NREL does essentially, I think twice a year, they do like a top down and a bottom up study.
That's great. I'm not trying to be difficult at all.
Yeah.
So you did a great job. Is that 15 cents or 15? What is it in terms of?
Oh, cents per watt, 15 cents per watt peak. There's always
and what is that as a percentage of, call it the average of the alternatives? Is it a 1% savings, a 20%
well,
savings?
the projects, commercial industrial projects, they vary in the US in terms of the install price between typically just under $1.20 and $1.60. Some even as high as $2, but like $1.20 to $1.60 is the overall cost average of these projects. So our savings on these costs is about 15 cents on those project costs. Does that cover, right? That the projects themselves are $1.20 to $1.60. And the span, of course, is one is pricing, the other is of course also the size of the projects matter, right? Because then you have relative differences.
If I'm following those numbers as to what the denominator is or the unit is that you're using, that's about a 10% savings if I'm following you properly.
It's about 10% savings. That's correct. Yeah, which may not sound like a lot, but it is a make or break to actually make a sale or not, because in these projects are cutthroat deals typically.
Oh yeah, no, I know it's an incredibly cost competitive business. It's a commodity business today, so it's all about cost.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Bill. My question, Joe, is what's the exit strategy here? How does the investor get paid back?
Yeah, the most likely is the acquisition either by a large competitor or by a strategic partner. A strategic partner can be a module supplier, but can also be a large company that deals in the system that's like a large EPC or developer.
And what are the comps in the space? What's the multiple on revenue that they're paying for businesses like this in the market today?
Well, some products that are inferior to us were sold at about 140, $160 million. Right? So that's basically, and we believe we can sell north of that.
Great. All right. We're out of our time. Thanks so much, Joe, for a good presentation. Thanks, Bill, for your question. And with that, let's go to our next presenter, which is Indy. Sebastian, if you would like to launch your slides and kick off when you're ready.
All right, great. Hey, everybody. All right, give me 1 second. Oh, I need to get the access. Okay, fantastic. 1 second. All right, can everyone see my screen?
We can see it. You're good to go.
Great. Hello, everybody. Over the next couple of minutes, I look forward to presenting you Indy with a quick product demo and overview of our business and what we're doing at our company. So, hi, everyone. I'm Sebastian, co-founder and CEO. I'm going to walk you through the excitement, which is the freelance workspace and all the challenges that freelancers face in the United States with the one-stop software that empowers freelancers to monetize and accelerate their cash flow. And let's get started with a quick demo.
Freelancing is a mess. I gotta find clients, send invoices, keep track of files, try not to lose my mind, create contracts. But with Indy, I have everything I need in one place with its super affordable and easy to use back office and CRM tool suite. Now I can generate new leads with intake forms, create winning proposals with custom packages to attract clients, secure the agreements with legally vetted contracts, break down large projects into smaller tasks, manage, chat, and collaborate with clients through portals, track my hours automatically with just a click, upload, store, and share files, and wrap up a project with simple yet powerful invoicing. Then I zoom out for a bird's eye view of everything happening each day, week, and month, and improve my processes with feedback forms and surveys. It's everything I need in one place. Indy makes freelancing simple so I can focus on growing my business.
Great, thank you. Let's get rolling. Okay, so this is Indy, and we're going to talk to you about how to invest in tomorrow's workforce. On an opening note, we are a scaling seed stage SaaS company for freelancers. We currently process $180,000 of ARR. $3 million every month are transacted between our 2,000 freelance customers and their clients, and we have over 25,000 freemium users. We have a profitable and repeatable growth recipe that today, for each user that we acquired via paid advertising, we get 1 organic user through referral. We're going after a really large market, freelancers in the United States. And to be specific, about half of them, which is the so-called highly skilled freelance cohort. So we're not talking about blue collar, mainly designers, software engineers, digital marketers, et cetera. More details on that shortly. It's a $600 billion market with 30 million freelancers in the United States. We're raising a $2.5 million convertible note on a $10 million cap. 800,000 are already raised. And over the next 9 months, we're going to be growing our revenue to 1.13 million in ARR, our first 9,000 subscribers, so up from 2,000, and raising our Series A funding round. So on an opening note, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with freelancing, but it's a huge space. So we are progressively moving towards remote and distributed work. And in the United States, there's a lot of freelancers. Now, freelancing for any of us is really hard. If tomorrow we would not be working for an employer, but we would be independent professionals or small LLCs, we are dependent to fully on our own, understand how to market ourselves, how to set up our platform, how to process our payments, how to manage our contracts, how to run all our software back office, how to manage our clients, and all the in-betweens. Each month, 30 million freelancers are losing up to $1,000 each month, or up to 1.2 workdays in inefficiencies in running their business. That's because sometimes great freelancers make really bad operators. And this is where we come in with our solution, a simple software for freelancing that helps freelancers go from chaos to something easy. Thanks to Indy, freelancers here are saving up to $1,000 every month. And as you kind of saw in our rapid demo, glad to provide a longer one, we have everything from project portals to calendars, contracts, file storage, forms, invoicing, task management, time tracking, proposals. So we really help the freelancer go through his entire workflow in working with his freelance client. Not only that, every person who uses Indy for his small business or LLC can use that same set of tools of contracting, invoicing, communications, and CRM to reach out to other small businesses within the Indy community and quickly build up stable sources of income and business relationships and expand, upsize, and downscale his or her roster of people that they work with. Customers are loving our product. Our seed stage company today, with over 2,000 paying customers, is retaining 98.5% of our monthly paid customers. More than half of our user base has switched to annual plans since we introduced it. We have a 37% referral rate and an NPS score of 64. We launched our first MVP back in 2021, where we brought our ARR to a slow 60,000 with a couple hundred customers, and then we doubled that revenue in 2023. And we're currently looking to bring that revenue up to over 800,000 over the course of this year by keeping expanding our customer base. In the last couple of months, we added over 25,000 freemium B2B customers. And let me talk to you a little bit about what these customers are. So more than 75% of them are based in the United States. The remaining portion is mostly high net worth high GDP English speaking countries. We have a focus on small businesses and LLCs. If I illustrate our customers on a pie chart here, about 44% of them are various types of designers, technical designers, graphic designers, architectural designers, and whatnot. Then we have digital marketers, virtual assistants, copywriters, developers, and media professionals, everything around like content productions, media, audio, and whatnot. We've achieved some really impressive milestones over the past couple of months with over 2,000 paying customers, 180K in ARR. We currently transact on an annualized basis $32 million a year in freelance services. We've grown double-digit month over month all through 2023 and Q1 of this year. We have profitable unit economics. We are able to earn back 3 times what we spend to acquire a customer over a 3-year period, and we earn back our customer acquisition costs within the first year. In addition to that, one of the major focuses, so year 1 was really about building out the MVP and perfecting that. And last year, 2023, the focus was about tapping into that scalability, which we tested in 2023 and beginning of 2024. And we started playing with how can we scale up our user base really quickly. So we collected data that proves that we'd be able to add up to 1,600 customers each month, bringing ARR surplus by 170,000 each month. Let me explain how that would work. So in 2023 and 2024, we started with our early go-to-market scaling. We focused here essentially on acquiring users through search. So we understand really clearly what type of things people look for in the freelancing space, like how to politely ask for payments, how to reach out to customers, how to manage my customers. And we tap into this search nerve through Google search. We deployed $290,000 of paid over what we call a long tail period from July to April. And with that spend, we acquired around 2,000 customers. In addition to that, for each of these customers, we get 8% of a new customer each month. On top of that, what we did at the beginning of this year is we hyperscaled it. We took that spend and brought that up to 68,000 in 10 days. And within 10 days, we acquired 525 paid customers. Alongside that, for each user that we're acquiring through these paid channels, we are getting 1 organic user through referral, equivalent to 8 to 10% month-on-month baseline organic growth. So we shut down all paid activities in April, May, and to month, and we're still growing, or let's say adding customers. We added 276 paying customers at 0 cost in the last couple of weeks. Blended customer acquisition cost right now is between $100 and $125. We charge $12 a month, and we're going to be pricing it at $14 within a couple of weeks. We grew really nicely over 2022 and 2023 into 2024. So we processed over 2023, $23.2 million of gross services volume, and we grew our revenue by 160%. Not only are we growing through search engine traffic and referral, we are also launching our affiliate platform and partner platform. We're currently in discussion with different industry leaders in the space to recommend Indy as the go-to platform for freelancers to become great business operators and partnering with vertical companies in banking and insurance. So imagine you go to Indy, you have your software, you have your community, you have your banking, you have your insurance, you have everything that you need to run your freelance business as an individual. We monetize on software subscriptions. In addition to that, due to the large number of payment volume running through the platform, we are also negotiating with different payment processors to take 0.85% of the credit card transactions plus 20 cents on each transaction. We're currently processing around 3 million a month. It's a huge market. Freelancing is a growing market, and when we think of the space that we're focused on, it's really in the United States. It's around 30 million people that we're going after. This is based on a study that is published each year by Upwork and Nielsen. When we think of the competitive environment today, I'd like to highlight it's mostly, when we speak about SaaS, it's an enterprise play. There's a huge opportunity in the freelance segment. Today, there's only a handful of companies that are active in that space. And when we think of the big household names, Upwork and Fiverr, I'll stress that these are marketplaces and they're heavily focused on the APAC region, Southeast Asia, Philippines, etc. And we see Indy really well positioned with a great price, fast scaling go-to-market, a design that is proven easy to use and retentive, and a brand that people love to become the go-to freelance ecosystem for indies here in the United States. In terms of exit scenarios, we see here an opportunity to be acquired by companies like Stripe, PayPal, or Square because of our large merchant volume and transactions that are going to be hitting the $1 billion mark within the next year and a half. Also acquisition by a large enterprise SaaS players in the back office CRM space like Oracle, Salesforce, or Microsoft who want to buy into the vertical. Fiverr and Upwork, who currently don't have a strong foothold in the United States in terms of freelance community. Last but not least, potentially an IPO as ARR hits the $100 million mark in 2029. We have a great team with experts from Intel, Zendesk, NerdWallet, Electronic Arts, Fox Sports, and more. I'm a serial entrepreneur, background in business and marketing. Formerly was at Nestle and in the fast-moving consumer goods, and I've been in the software space for about 10 years now. We're raising a $2.5 million seed, 20% discount, $10 million cap, 2-year maturity, 6% interest rate, 800K are in. We're remaining 1.7. We can also provide discounts on large tickets if we have, let's say, larger single investors. The 1.1 million of what's left are going to go straight into growth, adding around 9,000 paying customers, bringing gross services volume to 105 million and ARR to 1.1 million, 600K into product development with a focus on AI, taxes, and CRM. And by 2025, our Series A bringing us to 26,000 customers, 3.5 million ARR, 10 million ARR by 2026, and then doubling annual recurring revenue year on year thereafter. Voila, that's us in a nutshell. You guys can scan me here for bookings with your phone, and you'll get access to my calendar and open for questions. And if you would like to talk more with me, happy to take some time. I'm based in New York, always happy to meet up for coffee and catch up. Voila, that's besides that, family, got a dog, live here in Bronxville, and always happy to meet new people.
Great. Thanks, Sebastian. If there are any questions in the audience, please put it in the chat box. Bill, what's your first question?
Jeremy, Sebastian, excuse me, Sebastian, thank you. This space is evolving rapidly with lots of players. What's it going to take to win? And I like what you said about your business, and you're very capable. It was a great presentation. But what's it going to take to win in this space, and why are you guys going to get there?
I think today freelancing is about centralizing, and it is about bringing all the core cornerstones together into a singular platform. I think winning today is a lot about speed and brand and execution. So at a nutshell, I would say what's really important for us is bringing together the dimensions across banking, insurance, great software, keep expanding those modules of software, and keep growing through our referral and word of mouth mechanic. I think as we continue to invest in our product and expand, the moat for new entrants becomes harder and harder, because building a large software like Indy and making it as easy to use and as functional as it is something that requires a substantial amount of investment. Indy's been around now for quite some time. It is the fruit of my first company, my second company, which eventually pivoted to what it is today. And if you have the chance to check out the product, you'll see what I mean. It's a pretty substantial piece of software. And I think that progressively as we expand our ecosystem and the community grows, that's going to build really sticky moats. And we also see that customers, once they're inside of Indy, they tend really to stick and not abandon the platform anymore. And it's a massive market. I mean, we're talking about up to 60 million people in the United States, and the size of our current competitors is still very limited. It's a land.
Can I ask a follow-up here? Yes, these businesses evolve almost like an arms race. Whoever captures the most first usually gets the chance to establish a beachhead and a brand and identity. And that usually takes money and distribution and marketing and advertising to just
Yes.
to so but you mentioned that you were cutting back in your advertising. So could you comment more on how you're going to reach the 30 million or whatever market share you can reach? How are you going to reach them all and get to them, given that it's almost like a consumer product? You've got to reach individual freelancers. And doesn't that take a lot of marketing money to get there?
So I'll give two answers to that because we're running on time. First one is we're currently acquiring users at around $100 a pop. So yes, it requires marketing money, but the acquisition that we're spending is fully profitable. And actually, it's really nicely profitable. We have a 90% profit margin, and we're earning back 3 times what we spend within the 3-year horizon with a 1-year payback.
Yep.
In addition to that, we are also looking at vertical partnerships with banking and other types of companies that would allow us actually to license the product. So we were in discussion with banks like Novo, and they are also appealing to freelancers, and they like to license our product basically to their customers. So we could acquire 250,000 customers within a pretty short period of time. We've reduced our marketing efforts right now because we have operating costs of around 135,000 a month plus marketing expenditure. And we currently need to make sure that our run rate is extended so we're able to close the round and proceed with our growth efforts.
Fine. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. We have one comment in the chat box. I love working virtually from home office. I never traveled since poor ROI versus staying home and getting things done. 0 commutes. I agree with Indy. I think you had a big fan there in the chat box as well, Mark. Hopefully you can join us now in our breakout rooms. With that, we'll have Dave come back and tell us. We will organize ourselves. This is the end of our presentations today, but we have the opportunity to go talk to these guys one-on-one. We'll have each one go to a breakout room. So with that, Dave will come in and tell us how to organize ourselves into the breakouts.
All right, guys, going to go ahead and start those breakout rooms now. 1 second while I get those going, opening, and then everyone should be assigned already.
Great. Just join a breakout room and you can talk to these guys directly and get more information. I'll be in a breakout room for those who want to learn more about 10 Capital. If anybody shows up, I'm glad to tell you about how you can be up on that panel as well.
Bill, yeah, if you want to hop in on any breakout room, you can. And if you don't, obviously, since it's just you and me, if you don't want to hop in any breakout room, then you can hop off whenever you want.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shane. I've been to many pitch sessions, many. There were some high quality companies there, so I was really impressed with the high quality that you've curated.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. I guess let me ask you this, since it's just, since you gave me that feedback. I just came on recently to start the virtual, I guess, just to enhance these webinars. Is there anything you'd like to see to improve on the next one by chance? That you've seen in other webinars that you're like, oh, this before.
No, this one's good. Some of the ones I've seen, there's like a 4-minute presentation period, which is very fast. The one thing that came to mind is maybe slightly shorter presentations and more tough, more cut to the meat type questions that might come in from others. But I don't know how many people are on. I don't know how many people are on this Zoom and how you curate to get the best questions from your audience.
Yeah, that is a good point. I guess, well, Hall does a selection. I guess they put in the questions for the chat box if they have any that are aside from the panelists and the other clients. And then Hall, I guess, picks and chooses which questions to shoot out. But good point. I will definitely, again, put that into perspective. I appreciate that.
Well, I think what I'm saying is, and just to make sure I'm clear, I really, people love hearing other people's perspectives and point of view. I actually didn't know that I was going to be asked to be on the panel and questioner today. I thought I was just going to listen, but so I just did this from the top of my head with the questions that came to me just from listening to the presentation. And I tried to come up with like an essential kind of meaty question just on the fly here, but
No, no. If anything, I appreciate you for coming up on the spot. We're usually more organized, but this one was just one of those last minute events that came up with some tinkering here and there.
Yeah. You guys,
thank you.
You did a great job. When we talked to Hall earlier this week, my partner and I didn't realize that that he was inviting us to actually be on the panel to ask the questions. It worked out fine. It was a good challenge for me, so I'm not complaining at all.
No. Great job. Well, if anything, we hope to see you in a future event. And if there's anything that you ever need from me or us, give me just an email away.
You're very nice. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate it. I wrote to Alithia Power and Soteria. I sent an email while I was sitting here to those guys too.
Oh, love it.
I don't know what the follow-up procedure is, but because they posted their email addresses, I wrote to them to ask them.
Yeah, no, of course, that's great. Thank you for being proactive. And if anything, 100%, this means a lot. So thank you.
Is that an okay to do? Like, I just figured I'd get a copy of the deck and talk to them directly.
Yeah, go ahead. No, if anything, so we send out these polls and we saw the poll answers as well. So we'll connect you as well through them just to have that warm intro. But hey, who am I to tell you can't do what you can't do? So,
Okay. For example, on a day like today, how do you have a feeling for how many people showed up in your audience to listen in today?
Yeah. There was I think about to estimate 20 to 30. I'd have to get you a solid number once I pull the report from Zoom though.
I see, but it was in that range. Got it.
Yeah, it was that range. Because I think it fluctuated. The only reason I gave you a range was because when we logged in, it was 22. And then later on, I think it was like near the 28, 29 mark. And then it went back down as people were going in and out. So again, it varies.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shane.
Always. Well then, again, talk to you soon and I guess see you in the future.
Thank you.
Always. Peace.
Bye.